Hey, so hello and welcome to Ethereum Classic Community Call number 44. Today is Friday, December 19th, 2025. This community call is an open voice chat discussion about Ethereum Classic. Everyone is welcome. Please be excellent to each other. The call will be published on YouTube, and if you're interested, you can join the call 1 hour before in the green room. And this is a pre-call hangout that will not be recorded. You can find us in the Discord voice channels. This week we have an announcement to make, which is a new community calls website, which you can find at cc.ethereumclassic.org. On this website, you can browse all the past episodes. You can subscribe to the calendar or RSS feed to never miss a call. It has a time zone converter, so you can ensure that you're arriving at the right time. And you can find AI summaries of all the calls, and there'll be more features to come. So without further ado, let's dive in. There are 3 topics. Oh, I see Diego has his hand up. Would you like to chat, or was that just a clap?
Yeah, no, it was just a clap for your great work on the website.
Okay, thanks, Diego. Yeah, it was made with the help of Claude Code CLI. So I'd like to thank all the LLM producers out there that helped. So there's 3 topics that we can dive into today, and there's no particular order, but basically they are. We have basically an approval deadlock on some merges happening on the various Ethereum Classic repos that we could dive into and try and sort out while we're on this call. There's some remaining questions about Olympia that were brought up in the last call that I was hoping if some of the authors might be able to address this call. And then finally, some potential discussion about editorial guidelines about ethereumclassic.org and this new Ethereum Classic Community Call website. So is there anyone on the call that would like to jump in on any other topic or any particular topic that I've brought up? Okay, so in that case, I think we should just jump into the first approval deadlock issue, and I'm referring particularly to a comment made by Cody about trying to sort out this merge for ECIP 1120, which was authored by me and Diego and submitted for a pull request on the ECIP's repo about 2 weeks ago, and has since been basically in approval purgatory for the last 2 weeks, trying to appease one of the ECIP maintainers. And it seems, Cody, that this is okay with you. Do you have any ideas on what we can do in terms of next steps to get this merged?
Yeah, I think for next steps, uh, updating the editors in the ECIP repos, probably the next step. I mean, the process is intended to get as much information out in front of people as possible so they can read and think and debate about it. I mean, filibustering it doesn't really help anyone. So, uh, and we don't, I think Meowbits is still the other maintainer or editor or whatever the role is in the ECIP, so we need to refresh those anyway.
Okay. I saw that you recently made a pull request to update that list of editors, and I approved and merged that one. So this would be rotate the inactive editors. This is PR 549, and I think you switched Meowbits and added Diego to the list of maintainers. Is that something that's been reflected in the teams now as well, or is that just on the ECIP?
Good question. Let me check.
Would you mind sharing the link to this PR in the chat?
Yep, no problem. I'll send it through in just a
I
second.
got it. I'm sending it.
Thank you. No, I meant the other one, the one adding me as an editor, or the other one that you were just mentioning.
Let's see. Right. I will share that in just a second. It's number 594. Sorry, 549. And I'll paste this in the chat. Okay. Do you see that?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so just for the record, I want to make sure I'm not going insane and that my interpretation of the ECIP categorization is indeed like correct in that like standard track / core is appropriate for ECIP 1120.
As far as I can tell.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool. I think if we have like majority support to merge this, then and there's no, I mean, Chris has been invited to the call, and I was hoping he'd join to get his interpretation analyzed, I guess, but he's not here at the moment. But I think like with 3 out of 4 of the maintainers supporting this, we can go ahead and merge it at this stage, even if it means dismissing the stale review. If anyone is against that, then please let me know. Okay, so I think that 1120 can go ahead and be merged. There's also a kind of side issue with the ECIP WIP status, work in progress status, which in ECIP 1000 is listed as like optional. So any ECIP that is going to be updated in the future could be like early stage listed as work in progress. And it seems that Chris was suggesting to use this status at some point for 1120, and I was okay with that. But it seems like there's an ECIP validator, Ruby gem, which is an external dependency on the ECIP's repo. It's maintained by Meowbits, and it doesn't support WIP. So any status of WIP was just failing the build. And for that reason, it was causing a bit of confusion. I have another open pull request that changes the logic so that it's no longer depending on an external gem, and it's running that validation locally within the ECIP repo. So that's another pull request that I would request review from maintainers. So this would allow us to manage all the validation locally without relying on that outdated Ruby gem in the external library.
Makes sense. What's the difference in work in progress and draft? Is draft more complete than work in progress?
Yeah, so the only mention of WIP on ECIP 1000 is that draft ECIPs may be in very early stage, may be entered as WIP, which means they're a work in progress. That's the only thing that it mentioned. So it's probably the case that the WIP as a status wasn't part of the original assumption, and then this WIP clause got added in at some point, but didn't update the validator. And the workaround so far has just been to prefix everything with WIP in the title. So that's one option, but I think it would be nicer to just actually have a WIP status.
Yeah, having it internal and being able to control it's definitely the preferred, I think.
Yep. So that pull request I made, I'm not a Ruby guy, and it's co-authored by AI agents. It seems to work, and I've tested it. But if someone is familiar with Ruby and can sanity check this, it seems to be fine, but it would be nice if someone could do that before we merge it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Diego has also, you should have an invite now for ECIP editors team.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. So, yeah, and if Diego, you could approve 1120, that would also, for the record, help. I will reference this conversation before merging. But yeah, that'll be useful to have on the repo itself.
Yeah. Are you going to change the status to work in progress, or we will keep it in draft?
This links nicely with the next item on the agenda, which is I also made a pull request to fix the Olympia ECIPs categorization. And this brings those Olympia ECIPs in line with the same interpretation, i.e. standards track core, because they do implement hard forks. So I was assuming that like these are not really meta ECIPs because they're going to be changing the protocol. So, and they currently are using the WIP prefix as a workaround, adding to Olympia. So I understand it's a bit cheeky, but I wanted to kind of align both 1120 and Olympia in what I believe to be similar statuses, given the fact that in 1120, the parameters that are unfinalized are also unfinalized in Olympia in 1111. So I feel like they both require the same levels of additional research. And if one is WIP, then so should the other probably. So I'm fine with either WIP or draft. To be honest, I think because these parameters, like, there's no significant change to either of these ECIPs other than finalizing those parameters based on client testing. So I don't necessarily think they need to be WIP because they're not going to change too much. So I'm happy having both of these as draft. But I do think the standards track should be updated. Sorry, the types should be updated to standard track on Olympia, at least for 1111 and 1112. So I'm happy to update my branch to remove the WIP and merge both as draft. But I'm open.
Yeah, I don't have any objection to it.
Cool. In that case, I'll remove the WIP prefix from the Fix Olympia ECIPs categorization PR. And I think then that the current 1120 can be merged as is, as a draft.
Cool. What about 1121? I submitted a PR for that one too. This is kind of the omnibus of everything that
Yes.
we've missed as well along the line. Because
this was also in the agenda, and whatever the next branch, whatever the next hard fork is called, I'm totally fine with whatever we come up with. My only concern is that Olympia has already kind of been promoted as this treasury. So I just wanted to be extra careful about how it's interpreted by people outside the ECIP process. And if we're adamant that Olympia is the next name, I'm totally fine with going with it. I think it's really important that like the distinction is made between Olympia, the treasury, and Olympia, the hard fork that might have other ECIPs as part of it. And that was the only thing that I think we need to like discuss and properly signal to people outside the ECIP process. Because I know a lot of people in the Discord are like no Olympia because they think Olympia is a treasury. So that was my only concern with listing everything under Olympia.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fair. Go ahead, Diego.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, about that, I also think I agree with Stora here, because if you search for Olympia or Ethereum Classic in any search engine, it will come up with this treasury thing, because there has been already like pretty like articles published on coin something. I don't remember the name, but I think in CoinMarketCap under the
Yeah.
Ethereum Classic user.
Mhm.
So they are praising Olympia to be the next hard fork, with the treasury and all that. So yeah, I think it will be better. I don't know if we have to decide for a name right now, but if the next hard fork is, I mean, it's not going to include the treasury, I will keep it like with a different name.
Yeah. I like the Olympia name because it's out there and it's been there for a year. Whether or not it has a treasury in it or how the 1559 gets implemented, we can still decide. But just as a name, it doesn't matter to me at all because it doesn't impact anything. But this does, it's already out there as the next hard fork. So it's easier to say Olympia is the hard fork and do push articles out saying or clarifying that a treasury is an option in it, kind of like how the merge did for a while. Of it's a long-term goal, but it's and it can be part of the Olympia or the next fork. But the important thing is that we can agree what's in the next fork. Everyone can know that it exists and it's coming, and we can start coordinating. And locking on a name and not going around in circles on it is more important to me than other stuff, I guess. So I just want to call it Olympia, and then we can start bickering about what's inside of it.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, if that's a way forward, then I'm open to it. Um, it would have been nice if this conversation was had in the first place before these like promotions were made about Olympia containing a treasury. And it does tie nicely into the next topic, which is about the publication guidelines on ethereumclassic.org and having this disclaimer about the contents of Olympia and or like the path forward with 1559. And the issue is that the way that Olympia has been framed so far is that this is a hard fork that's going to happen and it's going to have a treasury. So undoing that messaging, probably there's not that many people following anyway, so it's not going to be like a game over scenario, to be honest. So if this is ground that needs to be seeded, then okay, I'm willing to do that. I think from my side, at least, we can come up with some kind of path forward on that, as long as we like properly make it clear that it's not necessarily treasury. Things are still being debated.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, Diego just posted a link in the chat. I'll also add this to the show notes. And yeah, this is like kind of the kind of difficulty in using the word Olympia. But again,
Well,
like
I
to me,
mean,
this is not like a major blocker right now. Like it's not really something we should be arguing about at this stage. Ideally, we should be arguing about what we're actually going to be implementing as opposed to the name.
exactly. Yeah. So maybe this Olympia Developer Series expands out to 1120 as well, because that's the other,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, alternative that is out there
Yeah.
of either way. I think we've decided we want to do 1559. We want to do smoothing. It's coming at some point. Whether or not there's a treasury portion or not is currently debated. But
Yep.
more
And
broadly, we
just
are.
for the
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to mention that smoothing can be implemented in a number of ways, right? And 1115 is currently like a smart contract application layer based smoothing system, and it's a very different implementation to 1120. So they kind of are still opposing, even though there is a smoothing mechanism proposed. They're very different implementations.
How are they different again? Sorry.
So in 1115, the L smoothing mechanism is basically it's been defined, as far as I understand, as like kind of as part of the Olympia governance voting system. Each, I mean, it's kind of underdefined, to be honest, because you'd assume there needs to be some kind of transaction initiated every block to reimburse miners. But right now, it's implemented as a smart contract based, future looking um, like refund mechanism in the application layer, since all of the base fee is added to that Treasury smart contract. Whereas in 1120, it's based on a protocol layer with no smart contracts. It's returned using a stateless backwards-looking mechanism.
Got it.
And yeah, so it completely separates the application layer from the protocol
Yeah,
in
it makes the
1120.
requirement as part of the block of paying the previous miners. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I guess in that definition, then, I guess for clarity, in my head, 15 or 115 is the middle ground between the two. 1111 was all of the base fee goes to Treasury. 1120 is there's smoothing to all the miners get the base fee smoothed out. And 1115 is the middle of there's smoothing with a portion that goes to the Treasury.
okay. And currently, do you advocate one implementation over the other? Like currently 1115 says it should be implemented in a contract,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be possible to implement as like a protocol layer, and then 5% goes to a treasury contract, for example.
Yeah, protocol level would be the preference with the
Yeah.
optional Treasury.
Okay. I think in that case, then 1115 should be updated.
Yeah.
Okay. But in any case, both 1115, 1111, and 1120 require additional like client testing and
Mhm.
modeling, I think, to finalize those specific parameters like the block elasticity and the shape of the curve.
Yeah. And those are probably those three are going to require the work for the next hard fork. The other ones I think are already implemented in Besu and Core Geth, so it's just picking a block number really, and then we magically get upgrades.
Yeah. Um,
So
yeah. So,
I
so the
guess,
only other thing that I wanted to highlight about the Olympia umbrella is that I think this would also need sign off from Chris Mercer, who's the author of the original Olympia series, of whether
Mhm.
1120 is part. And given that he's the main author, like he should probably have some say in that. So I've left that as an open question for him.
Sure. Can we talk timelines, I guess, as well on this call?
Yeah, we can. I think the next like important thing to try and figure out is like how do we reach consensus? Like how do we get input from other stakeholders? Because right now there's basically two editors that support either side. There's kind of a deadlock, right? And it's 50-50, more or less. So how do we get other people's voices in, and how do we either allow them to signal their support for one side or the other, or like can we build some kind of way for miners to show what they're likely to mine in the future? Is this already built in to the protocol? Is there some mechanism that we can utilize that's been used in other chains? for like helping us figure out where people are thinking? And are there any other ways we can think of to help us make this decision, given that there is no like clear uh, consensus right now between the ECIP maintainers of which path to go forward with? Because like when we're talking timelines, then really, I guess the implementation is not that much of a burden. It's really just like the the coordinating and reaching consensus part that's going to take some time. And if there's any way we can shorten that time frame, then we can accelerate the fork deadline.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only, I guess, controversial part is around 1559 and its handling. The rest of it, I don't think there's any objections. Uh, so figuring out how to settle that part quickly would be really helpful because the other stuff we could, in theory, June's possible for getting it live on mainnet. March could be, we could go live on testnet. So it's just block numbers. It's easy, but getting the consensus around 1559 is still the more
Mm-hmm.
challenging part, as you said. Uh, we do kind of have minor signaling. They can change the uh, what they're using for nonces or how they're signing things. I mean, there's also a possibility of doing something like a prediction market of where we create two coins, a pro coin and an against coin for the treasury, and people lock their tokens into it, and then we ride through the fork uh, and then unlock on the other side. If you went with you didn't want the treasury, then that's the chain you're on. If uh,
Mm-hmm.
you wanted the treasury, then that's the chain you're on, and both sides end up on the other one uh, with your money. And I guess theoretically, you sell the losing token, or the winners get the losing tokens, or however prediction markets work.
I see. Would
So
that
you
be
get,
saying that like assuming there's like a chain split,
assuming
or
there's a
is that
chain.
just
It's a skin in the game of it costs people on Discord nothing to shit talk all day and say how terrible everything is and never develop anything.
yeah?
That's easy. Actually putting locking coins up and saying I believe in this so much that I'm willing to burn all of my ETC is a different question because you have to ride out the uncertainty in pricing and all kinds of things. It changes the dynamic of it a bit.
It does. But at the same time, you don't want to have too much of a burden for people so that like you're encouraging everyone with minimal effort to engage with it somehow. Like um, another idea would be, I'm not sure if this would work, but like creating some kind of relationship with the gas limit that miners can vote on with an outcome to signal whether they prefer one or the other. Like let's say you have 8 million 100 is a signal for yes, and then 7 million 99999 would be a signal for no. And then you can just kind of like vote with the gas limit target. Is that something that might work? And I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah, I think the mining pools control that though, because they're the ones that actually submit the blocks with the Coinbase, and so I think that they control that. I don't know if individual miners can set their own gas limits as they're doing
Mm, I see.
the
Yeah, trying to. I guess maybe a layered approach would be good. Um, but again, we don't want to create too much work for ourselves and
yeah,
the participants.
and we don't want to create an overly complex process that's going to drag this out for longer than it needs to be. Because, as I said, most of this is we put a block number and
Yeah.
everything works. So dragging it out until the end of next year is would be crazy.
Have lost
Yeah.
Cody.
Do we have any idea the work that would be required to do the smoothing for 1559 in the core Geth client
Maybe it's
or in
me.
Besu?
Sorry.
Sorry, Diego, could you repeat that?
Oh, sorry, I missed Scotty for a while, so I wasn't sure if it was me or it was him.
I think maybe you cut out for a moment because I could hear him fully.
Ah,
So
okay.
Diego, do you know how much effort development-wise implementing 1120 would be? I believe that was Cody's question.
Hmm. I think that the main problem is not implementing it, but the testing part that will be terrible because we have to simulate. I mean, we will have probably to emulate what Ethereum made for 1559, and that's something that we have to research. But from what I remember, they kind of replayed most of their mainnet, like applying this mechanism, and they measure different scenarios on how that will work and how the curve will change and all that. So first
Mhm.
thing will be to to dig in on how was that tested. Probably we could reach out some of the people involved back at the time. I think they are still there and asking that. Um, then replicating it. I think that will be the most crucial part or time consuming and the most difficult one for plan ahead on how long it will take. For the implementation itself, it's quite simple. It's pretty much the pseudocode that it's in the ECIP, and I already implemented it on Besu, which was quite simple. But I think the most difficult part is that other one. And this will be a way different hard fork than previous ones. So I honestly think that thinking about March for having a test net, it's a bit ambitious.
Why is this different from previous hard forks?
Because this will change the monetary policy, which is something that might affect in ways that are not so well.
Mm.
It's so easy to define upfront. That's the thing I'm most worried about.
How
Yeah,
does this
there's
affect the
some
monetary
exotic.
policy?
Sorry.
How does this affect the monetary policy?
Well, it's not the monetary policy itself. Sorry, it's the fee mechanism. So it's completely different thing right now. It will be a different thing.
It will be a different thing. I don't think that impacts anything as far as timelines go. If we need to talk about it, we can
Um,
all talk about it, but I'd love to understand the difficulty in implementing these things.
okay. Well, maybe it's simpler than how it was in Ethereum because well they were burning things and we will not. So that might simplify a few things, but either way, I think it will be interesting to run at least some of the tests they run.
Yeah, no, I'm concerned that you're concerned, is I guess what I would say. Uh, I think we should test. That's as I'm been building out the Fukui client, the Gorgoroth testnet has been for that, of making sure that all the clients talk, everything works together, and that I'm able to uh, make sure all the parameters are tuned in right. So I definitely think that that's valuable, but I don't think that this takes longer than three
Yeah,
months.
no, something different from previous hard fork is that basically other hard fork have been already tested on Ethereum, and this we will not, at least
Hmm.
not in the implementation that we are going through. And
Right.
either way, it took us like a few months, even when we were like three people working on this. Um, I think that's one of the main differences right now in this particular hard fork. Beside the implementation itself, it will be something very really unique.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I think we can still think for a timeline. Maybe not in this call, but it's good to have this in mind so we don't lose focus on what we are doing. And also, if we are lucky, we may have some extra hands, not so long in the future. But yeah, that could help us a lot on moving this forward.
Yeah, part of the goal of this ECIP 1120.dev research project was to try and outline all the potential like things that need testing, and there are like additional concerns that don't exist on other forks that have been implemented before on Ethereum Classic. Sorry, on Ethereum mainnet, like this whole figuring out how the clients will handle reorgs and that kind of thing using different rules for that based on this this new distribution mechanism and the different numbers of like how many blocks is a suitable amount to ensure the economic properties as outlined in that research paper that we've talked about before, and like finding the sweet spot between like, do we have 1,000 blocks of curving? Do we have 50 blocks of curving? And what is the like? These are research topics that need to be thought about and also tested in practice. So it's not just a case of flipping a switch of something else that's happened in the past, because we need to do like novel research, original research on this.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
guess what I'm
and
saying is, can we have a go, no go by March 1st of whether we have confidence that we know the answer and we have the research, and this can be included in the hard fork, or
mhm.
it can be deferred to later and we can activate all the rest of them uh, come June 1st.
Yeah, that
I'm
makes
happy
sense.
to help contribute to this research, and uh, like the whole point of me jumping in as an author is because I see the need to like help Ethereum Classic at this point, and I'm willing to put the effort in and help contribute to these research efforts. It's just that I need to be sure that like there's a reasonable chance it will actually be useful. Like, because a lot of this research is only applicable to 1120. Like the if L smoothing, which wasn't a thing in Olympia until a month ago,
Mhm.
if that's something we want and we want to research that, then like let's decide whether it's actually going to be useful to spend that time researching.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think my main point right now for research is if the 128 blocks behind it's enough, because that's the number of that currently every client needs to have in memory or accessible,
Mm.
because the block hash is defined to to re, to reply to 128 blocks from the past. If we go further than that, it will imply like a change on the requirements on the node, and that's something that we might want to avoid. So if 128 it's enough, that will be great.
Awesome. And my assumption is that like the more the better in terms of the smoothing effect is more pronounced and less gameable the larger the number of blocks. And if 128 is like a good technical milestone that doesn't require too many additional assumptions to be messed with, then it seems like a good starting point at least. And if the clients can perform with 128, then that's a uh, like a good proposal.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to the miners pay per last in shares uh, smoothing. So you might look at that and see how they've where they've ended up. But I mean, yeah, conceptually,
Sorry, could you repeat
mining
the
pools, whenever they're paying out for the shares that come from their different miners, they to avoid the pool hopping, they do a smoothing algorithm of either pay per last in shares, where you whenever the mining pool finds the block, it pays out proportionally to how much you've contributed to the pool, even if you didn't particularly find a hash. So that smooths it out that way. The other way is pay per share, so it's more directly proportional and less smoothing. But
Hmm.
it's a problem that mining pools have dealt with for a long time of how to keep hash rate stable.
Cool. While we're on the topic, is there any advantage to having a decay curve instead of just linearly? Like, is there some incentivization of empty blocks um, by not including more transactions in some way that is related to the amount of reward that miners are given, or is just a linear return going to provide the same economic incentives?
Yeah, something to look at. I mean, linear is easier for the math side of it, probably, of a cleaner code,
Yeah.
but uh, the exponential doing a decay could be interesting as well. Of if you're
Right. I'm just
100,
not sure what the implications
yeah,
Mm.
it's something to think about. I mean, because we have 18 decimal points to play with, so it's a pretty big space to fractionalize returns on things. I guess the other thing to look at would be where the funds get returned to. Right now, the way that the blocks are put together, the Coinbase recipient is part of the block header. If this is going to be more of a smoothing place, being able to define where that Coinbase goes would be better. Like, kind of more like, I guess, the way that staking has deposit addresses, withdrawal addresses, having similar thing for the smoothing address where you can have all your funds go to and uh, be managed better would be interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, something else that I'm just thinking is that maybe it might be a problem for explorers because
right?
I don't know how they calculate the reward for each block, but that will certainly change.
Yep.
I, from what I remember, I don't think that there's an opcode for block reward.
No,
Uh,
no, there's no.
so
No,
yeah, we
there's no. So they might need to replicate the same algorithm for
mhm.
calculating the reward. But yeah, it might be interesting also to have eventually their perspective on this, on how they can adjust, probably with the Block Scout people at least.
Yeah.
Um,
Additionally, maybe mining software would have to be adjusted.
no, I don't think so. No, no,
Okay.
no, because the template will be still the same. So no.
Would that be true of
Thankfully.
the pool operators?
No, it will. It should be transparent to them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the pool software just calls the geth node and uh, gets a block
Get
template.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So the only downstream uh, software clients that may be affected are blockchain explorers.
Yep.
Potentially. Yeah. We need to look at it, I guess.
And how
Because
would this 'cause- sorry to how would the existence of both type 1 and type 2 transactions uh, like mesh with the additional base fee? They just go directly to the base fee and get smoothed out, right?
Yeah. The structure of the transaction is exactly the same as it's in Ethereum. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's taken the base fee, and that's the amount that it's sum up and distributed among the end past miners.
Cool. So the blockchain explorers would basically just have to implement exactly the same block. We're going to switch to this new algorithm to determine the emission.
Well, the mission will be the same. The only difference will
Sorry.
be how much. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
wrong
ahead.
wrong terminology. I meant block reward.
Yes, yes, then yes. It will change. Yeah.
It would change the block reward.
Yes, I mean there is still the block reward, which will
Mhm.
be the existing one minus the sum of the base fees. But then you will get added a portion of the past n blocks. That's how your current reward is calculated.
Yeah, that's true. I thought you meant the overall block reward versus transaction fees. The block reward itself will still decline like 17 or 1017.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. No, no, yeah.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's still there.
Okay. What about Omers also? I guess that's going to be the challenging part. We
Mm.
disincentivized them with 1017, but I think it's still going to be pretty complicated.
Yeah, I thought about that. But yeah, I think it's well, it's something that we might need to at least be a bit more clear on what we think. I gave a thought about OMERS and how this will affect, and my conclusion was that it doesn't change the incentive for keep mining competitive blocks. Um, but yeah, we might need to be more clear about that in somewhere. I don't know if in the research page or in the ECIP.
Hmm. Could you um, do like a quick summary of what the concern is there?
Yeah, I think well, basically the concern is that if it will change the incentive for mining competitive blocks. That's the main concern. I think it doesn't change the incentive for doing that, but it's worth to take another look.
So this would be like empty blocks being a problem,
No,
like
no,
myopic
con
mining. Okay.
no, competitive blocks. I mean, if some other miner will pick, I mean, the idea of OMERS is that you are rewarding even competitive blocks. So yeah, that's I think that's the main concern. I don't know, Corey, if I
Okay.
understood you correctly.
Yeah, whenever you make blocks, you can make your block heavier by adding the previous blocks that were almost blocks, the omers, and you get some payment for adding these into it. So figuring out making sure that the omers are added are based on the right parent blocks of the ones that you're paying out 128 blocks later, and it's not just a randomly made up omer would be, I guess, the concern
Hmm.
of make sure everything maps together.
Cool. We should definitely add this as a research avenue.
Something interesting that we can do maybe is to get a list of the people that were involved into the original 1559. I don't know, maybe send them an email or something if they may be interested to take a look at what we are working on. Maybe they might have some
Mm.
insight.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I was hoping eventually maybe Hasu may be interested in this mechanism since he was quite involved in that original discussion on Ethereum side.
Yeah, I don't know, Cody, if you know some of them, but it will also be helpful if you could reach out eventually.
Sure. I don't know if I know anyone off the top of my head, but
Yeah, we'll get a list of names.
what else do we want to talk about at the end of year extravaganza here? Oh, I mean, I guess does that sound like a plan? Research and make a decision in March of whether we go with the 1559 or we just implement the other ones without 5059. That way we can at least have something to drive towards.
Yep,
Sounds
it's good
good.
for me.
I'm
Exciting.
happy to collaborate in the organizing research efforts. Anything I can do, uh, just let me know. I'll continue hosting the calls to update the community about what's going on, and hopefully can also get my hands dirty on things if needed.
Cool. Yeah, I think 2026 is going to be a lot funner year than it has been in the past for Ethereum Classic.
Mhm. Okay. There were some other minor things that are not really worth spending too much time on. Editorial guidelines about ETC, the community calls thing. I think the AI summaries are just interesting, not try and inject any bias. So I'm just going to continue copy pasting them in terms of whatever Zoom tells me to. Happy to accept pull requests. I don't know if we need to implement any additional safeguards for the community calls website. Currently, I can just commit to the main branch and update things directly. If anyone prefers to do it a different way, I'm open to that. I'm also happy to draft some guidelines for editorial that I can stick to myself if that's something that people actually need.
For the
This is
overall content, sorry to interrupt. Phil, is the ambassador program still going with the ETC grant style? And is this somewhere where they could contribute to articles and things like this in the future?
No, actually, they are doing just on Twitter to do some promoting stuff, and they are not writing stuff like to our official website.
Okay. But they are still active and on Twitter?
Yeah, if you prefer to, let's say, contribute some papers or articles on our official website, it is also okay. We can organize some this kind of events.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be maybe interesting because you had also mentioned the store of maybe doing POAPs or something for or people coming on here and speaking or doing that. So that might be a way to get the community involved more as well. And I think the guidelines would help with that too.
for sure. It'd be great to get guests on to talk about specific topics. Um, and I'm not actually too familiar with the ambassador program. I guess I was kind of not around when it got announced. Could you maybe tell the listeners a little bit about the ambassador program and who's behind that, what it involves exactly?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the ambassador program is funded by the EGD, which is ADC Grand Style, and it is for the ambassadors to let's say to promote to post some kind of um, promoting tweets, and to let's say to attract more involves and interactions to ETC ecosystem. Yeah, that is what they do for now.
Okay, so is there some kind of like funding behind this?
Yeah,
Okay,
like the if they attract more, let's say, likes or attractions, replies, they will get some more real awards to that.
awesome. Yeah, I think now that we have this website, it's a little bit nicer to share the information about these calls, and it's easier to follow the series, and hopefully more people will join as we continue to do this regularly. So hopefully we can grow and get some traction. And I'll post the link about the ambassador program in the show notes as well if anyone's interested. And now that we have this website, it does act as a starting point for some other potential features like proof of participation, NFTs, and that kind of stuff, and more like figuring out how to organize future calls, like whether we do this on a fixed day or whether we have like special episodes where we coordinate with each other to try and make sure that we can get everyone involved. I was really hoping that Chris would be able to join this call, and maybe he can join one in the future, and hopefully we can get out of this phase of deadlock and move forward and just start building stuff.
Yeah, no, sounds like good. Like I said, 2026 is going to be great. As part of a broader outreach also, I guess we haven't talked about it this publicly, but the last article I posted on the Ethereum Classic website was about the custody platforms. And just overall custody platforms are what institutions and banks use for managing their keys and keys for their customers for crypto coins. And so these platforms are what institutions and banks are looking at whenever they start their journey into the blockchain space. And 2026 is looking like that's where most of the banks in at least the US and around the world are really going to start engaging with blockchains. And so making sure Ethereum Classic is listed on the leading platforms has always been kind of the goal of Ethereum Classic Co-op. So we've been having meetings with the platforms that don't currently have Ethereum Classic listed. And so hopefully in the coming year, you'll see more announcements about these platforms that are supporting us. And that way Ethereum Classic is one of the first coins in these institutions as they come online, or they have access to them at least. And this is also, I guess, my other big priority for next year is going to be around cross-chain interoperability. So looking at the same thing for Layer 0 and Chainlink and other platforms that are out there that are doing interoperability that are would help Ethereum Classic bridge to the rest of the world a lot easier so we can be less of our own island. And a lot of these follow the singleton pattern of you can deploy on any chain. Since we have Create 2, it's you deploy the contracts, they go to the right places, and then you stand up infrastructure on the back end to support it. Similar to what we have with the Catacomb wallet, it would be the same for the other ones. So starting to look at how to expand into those as well in the next year.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to next year, both in Ethereum Classic specifically and also the wider EVM, like new primitives, cryptographic schemes, ZK Passport. There's going to be a ton of awesome value adds coming to this network, not just within Ethereum Classic, but like inherited, as always, from other chains as well. So I'm looking forward to what we can do together next year. And I think it's going to be, for me at least, one that's way more engaging. The last year I've been notably less active, but my situation has changed next year such that I'm going to be able to do a lot more contributing. And as you've seen already, I'm going to be picking up the mantle, so to speak.
Excellent.
Yeah. So we're coming up to an hour. If there's any other topics that anyone in the chat would like to cover before we wrap up, then please feel free to jump in. Otherwise, we can say goodbye for this year and try and organize the next call.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a great year.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone. See you next year.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, this is the last community call of 2025. And we'll see you guys next year in 2026. Hopefully, everyone has an awesome holiday period. And see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.